How has being biracial affected your ability to learn and socialize in school? So in my earlier years, I was one of the only biracial people in my school or in my class. More so in elementary school than middle school, but honestly, I could only remember maybe 2 or 3 others. But choir has probably been one of the most diverse classrooms I have ever been in. To be a part of just independent women singing and making art with their voices and being so diverse and being a part of something so just mixed, matched, and amazing is honestly anything I could ever ask for. It's something that I needed so earlier on, and to be in that now helps me so much. So thank you, Miss King. I love you. I didn't really understand what was the difference between my mom and my dad when I was younger, because when you're younger, you don't know about race. No one ever tells you about race until, you realize when you grow up. I knew that my parents were separated, but I didn't know my dad was black and my mom was white. The first time I was ever objectified about my race was when another student called me a half nigger, and that was in the 1st grade. None of you have been put at that under the other end of that stick ever, but you guys know the effect and impact that has, especially when you are 6 or 7 and you're going into a world that gives you the world that you know that you're coming into, especially like in the early 2000s. It gives you just know what kind of hate people are spreading and how they're teaching their children. And to be in such a black and white world and being that gray middle area is hard. I've always gotten the question, am I adopted? Out in public when we're shopping, just doing normal human things. You never ask if a white kid is adopted when they're around their white parents, or a black kid if they're around their black parents. But I've always gotten that question, am I adopted? And it's not even the point that I don't even look like my mom, because I do look like my mom. There's no question. Like, I am her baby. But like, just because I have a different skin color than her, people like to marginalize that. In middle school, I hated and loathed being mixed. I hated it so much. I would straighten my hair and dress white to appease to dominant white schools, so I can camouflage and be safe, but also not safe at the same time. It was a survival tactic that my animal instincts kicked in. It was like, I can't be different. I must fade in. I would have teachers ask me what I would do to my hair if I would come in with curly hair, and honestly, my answer was I washed it. I didn't get it permed. I didn't get it cut. I was just lazy and washed it. And then when my mom would go in for parent-teacher conferences, every time they would ask, oh, what kid is yours? And she would say my name. They would always be surprised. What impact has being raised by your white side had on your black side? I feel very disconnected from my black side. I don't know the history, I don't know the culture, and if I won't know unless I take a DNA test what region we're from. And that just shows how erased black history is, and how the black movements and the black immigration has been erased from history. But the main reason I was excluded by my black side was I was assaulted by one of the members in that family, and unfortunately, I was shunned out very quickly. I've noticed over time, being both sides and being neither and both all at once, that white people present themselves as more extroverted and loud and upfront because they have that voice, they have that reason, they can present themselves any way they want to. But in reality, I know more introverted white people than anyone else. And then black people, they always present themselves, especially in the classroom, as introverted. They feel like they can't talk about things that they feel like is wrong because, you know, they don't know how the white teachers are going to react. But in reality, the black people that I do know are so bright and beautiful and so outspoken and bold and extroverted, and they just want to create. They want to do art. They want to sing and dance and do everything their heart desires, but they feel like they need to step back because there's always that white person. What can teachers do to improve the educational experience of our biracial students? And not even just biracial students, just people of color in general. Acknowledge the difference between you and that student or you and that person. Don't erase their racial identity because that is the identity that they have. It's like you can't erase that because it's special to them. Most black people, Hispanic, Chinese, Asian, they always hold their culture and their color so dear, and to strip that away it's against a basic human right of being treated the same no matter what. And to diversify the curriculum, have lessons that incorporate more black and people of color. I think English 4 is doing that amazingly well. Last semester I did an essay on Othello, and it was about the racial and sexual side of it, and I've never had a class like talk about that, and how if a white protagonist would be black, how would that story be different? Or if a white student, like a white protagonist would be Hispanic or Chinese, how would that be different? I just think it's amazing, and it's a big step in the right direction. What do you wish teachers knew about you as a biracial female student in their classroom?
I asked Naomi this question, like, you know, if you could have like one big statement. And she just said this, like, right away. How eloquent. I wish they knew how able-bodied I am, how I am interested in so many things. I am so engaged and eager to learn. That just, like, struck me like a gong continuously, because that made me realize how our black students do not feel like their teachers believe that they're able-bodied, and they don't feel like they're eager to learn their content areas. We as white people count kids out based on their color. You know, whether we realize we're doing it or not, those things are there. So count our students in, like all the way in, you know, and count them in every day, regardless of what happened yesterday. I just love the way she worded that. I just thought that was so powerful. Oh, that's the wrong computer.
How has being able to express your racial biography through art impacted you? It's been liberating, but also really challenging. I feel like sometimes I'm stepping and treading on eggshells because I don't know what the person next to me is going to feel when I draw or write something that is so oriented to someone else. I don't know how people are going to react when my art is out in the hallway. And I'm just like, oh, like, if I say this, like, what will happen? But I have such a good AP art family. They made me one of their own, and for them to not think that I'm playing the race card, to play the race card, and to accept my art as anything else is amazing, and I love you guys so much. But when I do have that clog, that barrier of like, oh my god, I don't know what they're going to say, I know that I'm protecting white fragility, and I have been trying desperately not to do that anymore. It's also made me realize how beautiful it is to be a melting pot of different races and cultures and diversity. And Ms. Cohagen had me sophomore year and it's so different. And some of them had me all throughout high school to come from like the white emo kid phase that I had to being this biracial queen that can express herself in ways I never thought I could. If someone told me a year ago today that I would be wearing my hair natural and speaking in front of you and teaching you guys, the mentors I've had since day one, I would have laughed and told you that you were lying. Because I just, no. And I'm so much more comfortable in my own skin, and it's amazing.
So this piece was made a year ago, and this piece was made recently. You can tell how white I made myself in this one. A year ago, I started to be like, hey, I'm not white. I'm not a white kid. I need to start accepting my diversity. And it was still such a struggle for me. I was so scared because people know that I'm biracial no matter where I come from, no matter what classroom, no matter where I step into, people will know. And I don't know if they're going to be angry about it. And that's what scared me the most. Versus recently, the skin color match from this one to this one is insane.